Because most modern Bibles are direct translations or carbon copies of the Latin translation, the result is all modern Bibles carry the name Hebrew. And these are all modern Americanized English Bible versions, which all stem from these translations from the Roman Catholic Church Fathers right down to this very day, and are printed and published and pumped out through the American Bible societies and similar. So lots and lots and lots of these street preachers, etc., are preaching from a Roman Catholic translation, a copy of copies of a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy of copies, etc. Okay, it's not from the original manuscripts; it's from revisions, translations, supposedly from the original ancient long dead languages, no longer written or spoken. So they must have had a certain method to do that they followed to be able to do that. But if you read deep into it, they're actually using the modern vernacular or dialects of the Aramaic, the Hebrew, the Greek, or Latinized form of Greek. So all modern Bibles carry the name of Hebrew, derived from the Latin name Hebraicus. Without the Latin name, Hebraicus, a direct translation from the original Dead Sea Scrolls, would read Ever instead of Hebrew. And this person says, let me repeat, the name Hebrew is the English translation from the original ancient text of the name. And 5 question marks, Ivri, pronounced Ever. Thus, without beating about the bush, the Ever people of West Africa and the enslaved Africans are none other than the ancient Israelites. This is this person's claim. The people in the area, formerly known as the Slave Coast in West Africa, are the question mark, whatever that is, Ever, also known as the Hebrews. They migrated to Africa 3,000 years ago when the Babylonians destroyed their kingdom along with ancient Egypt. Since then, Africa has been their home. So they could have become a new tribe if, as the Bible states, the Abraham, etc., his descendants went into the land of Canaan, because it was promised to Abraham by God, okay, which then modern times becomes the state of Israel in that particular location. So their descendants may have migrated down to Africa after the tectonic plate shift, etc., etc. It created these divides, created these seas like the Red Sea, the Suez Canal, all that sort of stuff, right, into Africa. But we think at that time they probably didn't have that separation because the tectonic plates yet hadn't rubbed against each other and caused friction. One rubbing up against the other, fighting against the other, which then caused earthquakes, molten lava, volcanic eruptions and molten lava to forming crust, new land, etc., etc., right? As the archaeologists, geologists, etc., explain in great detail. There is also a video that we came across on YouTube where Pan-African looks at the certain Israeli tourist spot, and the information board on there and says, well, they're actually saying what we just told you about the tectonic plates, volcanic eruptions, etc., etc. So Africa would have been part, or Israel would have been a part of Africa, or Africa would have been part of Israel, or Israel would have been part of Africa, because there's no separation of landmass, right, at that particular point. But they're lying. Okay, we will try and find that video amongst ours and put it underneath so you can view it to verify what we're saying is being said by somebody else. Okay, keep in mind he's a Pan-African, but he's obviously done his research, so you can have a look at that at your own time, at your own pace, in your own time, at your own pace. Yeah, so he's claiming these people migrated to Africa 3,000 years ago when the Babylonians destroyed their kingdom along with ancient Egypt. So is it talking about Jerusalem, or is it talking about something completely different? Because when the Jews came out of Babylonia, they went to Persia, apparently, and that appointed Saviour, Messiah. It's not saying that God made this guy a Messiah, right? Like Christ was. He was just a deliverer appointed by God, not necessarily believing in that one true God, who got the people, rescued his people out of Babylonia captivity, because they weren't allowed to do their religion, their customs, their practices, etc. It was illegal. So that's why you have the song Rivers of Babylon, where we sat down and we wept when we remember Zion, or Jerusalem, right, where they could do their religious practices, customs, traditions, etc. Right. So when they were freed, Babylonia was invaded, and then they were taken to Persia under Cyrus. Well, then they were free to do whatever their language. Right? Everyone who had a religion, everyone who was there who may have had their own different religion, etc., were allowed to do that. Okay, supposedly. Yeah, and then this king offered these Jews the materials, maybe money, etc., to go back to Jerusalem and fix their destroyed temple. Some went back, some didn't, and so forth. So these descendants of Abraham may have gone to Africa, met up with Africans who had probably migrated there centuries before, built themselves a city or a tribe or village or whatever, and then interacted with them, merged with them, interacted with them, intermarried, had children to them, then therefore had descendants. Okay, so you have this new peoples, this new tribe, first starting from in the Near East, okay, and then becoming a new tribe in Africa, say maybe Ethiopia, Nigeria, somewhere around that area. So there's two different regions that had two different names. One had originally had a C, the other, the secondary one, the new one, had a K. We're referring to Cush. If you have a look at the biblical genealogy or descendant list, there was a son born to someone called Cush. Okay, and then he had descendants. Okay, and these descendants who lived in that area in the Near East, Mesopotamia, etc., Cush eventually descended, or they migrated to this place in Africa. As we stated just a moment ago, they interacted with these people there who had migrated there possibly before them, way before them, centuries before them, intermarried, etc., and had these descendants who became the Cushites. Okay? These new Cushites with a K. There's a difference. See how you notice it's got to be like that, okay? Because you got to know the difference between the Cushites with a C and the Cushites with a K, so you know which one you're talking about. Okay? Because if you're claiming that they were the original Cushites by putting a C on both, well, then you've got two different factions, haven't you? Two different peoples. So that's an easier way we've found to identify the original Cushites from that Mesopotamian region, and then this new tribe, these new peoples, these descendants of these Cushites as Cushites with a K. Makes it a hell of a lot easier. Non-E, with a question mark in between, people on the other hand write the name as you. Nevertheless, you is completely wrong, because first it is a name for a female sheep, and second, you does not sound anywhere near, not even close to the proper pronunciation of the people's name. The name is actually pronounced E-Il, Ervil, A-Il, or E-Il, however this person's written it, is a name in the plural. In the singular it is, and so forth. The E, Il, occupy 4 countries in West Africa, namely Eastern Ghana. This person is not too sure of themselves. Togo, Republic of Benin, and Western Nigeria. Given the significance in the fact this name is the real name or identity of millions of people in Africa and the Americas, it is prudent you learn its pronunciation. It's pronounced Ever or Ever. Whatever that is. It's pronounced Ever with Ever. Don't worry if you are struggling with the pronunciations. Yeah, forgive us on that one, because to us it doesn't really make sense. There's too many question marks indicating that this person is not too sure. To make this clearer, use your internet browser and Google Abraham was Every. Then Google the words Hebraicus Latin. They will both give you the results from Hebrew or Jew, from the Hebrew or Jewish language. Right? And this is from the book The Final Solution to Black People's Problems by Mawuli, and it's available on Amazon. Keep in mind that this is a Rastafarian, one who has those beliefs. That this is the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Jesus returned. Whereas he said to the Rastas when he went to Jamaica, I am not Jesus, I am not God. And they said, oh, you are, you just don't know it. As many other cults do. When you confront them and say, well, your supposed founder actually said on a live video or debate, and here's the video, that he was not Jesus reincarnated, etc., etc. He was just a normal man. Oh, he just didn't know it. He wasn't aware of it. That sort of thing, right? That's their excuse, right? Or that's their claim. Okay, so that's the first one we looked at. So then we went a step further, and possibly on their suggestion, and we ended up at the Israel Koshchitsky Torah Hare Zion, was on, and it reads, the modern study of the social sciences is based on the principles of causality. Every phenomenon has its cause, and every event we tend to see the mover and that which is moved. Avraham Avinu proves that a different reality is possible. Avraham represents a great challenge for all of us. The Rambam, this is a well-known rabbi, writes that a person must always strive upward, saying, when will my actions equal those of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, or Jacob? Even if a person is incapable of reaching the spiritual levels attained by the forefathers, he must still strive and try, at the very least, to create his own path to serving God. Avraham embodies the proof that it is possible to free oneself from the pressures of society and family and to swim against the current with great strength. That small grain which for a tiny moment out of eternity broke through the barriers of his family and society became the father of a whole nation. This is Abraham's essence. They go their way, and he goes his. The whole world stands on one side, and he on the other. Therefore, according to the Midrash, it's a Jewish text, holy book, etc., he is called Abraham Ha-Ivre, Abraham the Hebrew. The source of the word Ivri is ever, meaning over, or on the other side. Okay, this is in the Hebrew, not the Aramaic. We'll show you what it means in the Aramaic in a moment. Therefore, we can interpret his name as Abraham, who stands opposite. The whole world stood on one side and he stood on the other. The father of the nation teaches us that if it is within a person's power, if he but wills it, you must want it, right? You must desire it. You must be passionate, driven, motivated, almost fanatical about it. To beat his own path, to clear himself a way, to create his own current. This character represents an enormous challenge and presents a great demand on us. At the same time, it also serves as a source of comfort. When a person is overcome with despair at the rushing, tumultuous streams facing him, he can take comfort in the knowledge that he can prevail. There's a wall put in front of you, you can break it down or you can climb over it or dig under it. Don't let it stand in your way. If only he wishes to act against him, perhaps he will not give rise to a new nation. They will conclude with your name, but he will find the strength needed for his struggle. Okay, and then they're saying it's constantly being improved, etc., etc. And then we found other websites. Okay, here's the opposite. Okay, to the supposed descendants of the Israelites, the Jews, etc. today. The U language. Where did the U language come from? A direct translation of the name of the Hebrew would read Ivri to its origin, U, pronounced Eve. Okay, that other person here said it was like you, like a sheep, a female sheep, which is incorrect, right? That's what he said. Okay, so here it's saying a direct translation of the name of the Hebrew word would read. A direct translation of the name of the Hebrew would read Ivri to its origin U, pronounced Eve. So it's a contradiction. The term Hebrew is the English translation from Latin Ivri, a term used to describe our forefather Uraham or Ephraim. The word literally means people, family of the valley. Okay, what language is that supposedly supposed to be? Hebrew. Is it from the Hebrew or the Latin? Okay, people of the valley. We believe this to be incorrect. Geographically, Ephraim came from the other side of the valley unto the river Jordan, since he came from Mesopotamia, modern day Iraq. Or it was basically called Erech in that day, modern day Iraq. Okay, so they got that right. To Canaan. It's a different spelling. Canaan. The land of on the other side was known as the kingdom of Kingdom Ebla. He was also both the physical and spiritual heir or head, chief, oldest son or descendant of Eber. Okay, this is incorrect. He was born to somebody else, right? He wasn't the physical heir or oldest son of Eber or Ever. Okay, they got this right here. That's from the Aramaic, right? Maybe it's the same in the Hebrew. Noah's great grandson, hence the name Ever, who lived on a higher spiritual plane than most of the world. The name Ever reflects an ideology of crossing to the other side. Okay, they have this right here. Maybe not in the exact wording when translated into the nearest English equivalent from the Lishana Artica Supraya, the Brita, okay, or Genesis, in the sacred scribal language of God, the Lishana Artica Supraya. That's close. Eviraham was on one side and the entire word was on the other. The Ever language comes from Evero. Everwo is what people know as the name of the Yasara Israelites, root Jacob renamed to Yasara. From as far as ever the great-great-grandson of Noah through the lineage of Semeh or Shem. The name Ivri, pronounced Ever, translated into Latin becomes Hebraicus. This name Hebraicus, as you can see yourself, is nowhere near the pronunciation of Ever. Okay, so yeah, this is from this person here who suggested you go look online at a certain website, or you type in a certain wording in the URL search, right? In your search, and you'll come up with this. Okay? You could come across this. Okay, so they're saying that Ever language comes from Everwo, which people know as the name of the Yasara Israelites, a root Jacob renamed to Yasara. By whom? From as far as ever, the great-great-grandson of Noah through the lineage of Semeh or Shem. The name Evre, pronounced Ever, up here it's got Ever, translated to Latin became Hebraicus. This name Hebraicus, as you can see yourself, is nowhere near the pronunciation of Ever. Therefore, instead of using the original name Ever, the translated Latin name Hebraicus carried into the European languages, which included English. The name Hebrew is the result of translating the Latin Hebraicus into English. Thus, the name Hebrew is the result of a double translation of the original name Ever. There you have it. The proper pronunciation in the native language of the ancient Yasaravi. Yeah, this is supposed to be the Israelites. we're guessing. Designation commonly known as Hebrew, in English as Eve, pronounced Eve. The Paleo Eve Wo Ale Be. Okay, or is this the alphabet? Yeah, the Ale Be alphabet of scriptures is a Semitic language. The word Semitic comes from the name Semeh or Shem, the son of Noah, whose descendants lived in the Middle East. Phoenician, Eve Wo, Hebrew, Aramaic, Syriac, and Arabic are all examples of Semitic languages. Yeah, okay. The Nabatean is the grandparent. The Hebrew, the Aramaic, and the Syriac are the parent languages of the Arabic. The Nabatean is the grandparent. It's a child language of the Nabatean. Yeah, are all examples of Semitic languages. Vet Wo was the original language of Yasara. The alphabet and language remained pure until the Babylonian exile in 586 BC, following the destruction of the Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem. Spoken Eve Wo Hebrew came under the influence of Aramaic. Yeah, okay, the Hebrew, yeah, okay, because it eventually died out, and people preferred using the Aramaic. It was replaced by that, right? The Hebrew was for all things holy within the temple, and the Aramaic was outside for everything else. Aramaic became the prevailing language of the entire Middle East from about 700 BC through the time of Yashiwu. It's supposed to be the name of. Is it supposed to be the name of Jesus? Not too sure what that one is. It looks like it might be. Due to the dispersion of the people of Yasara to Babylon and Egypt, the Ivri, or Hebrew, language adopted the square script alphabet of the Imperial Aramaic, known as Tav Asherit, or Asheri. Because you don't pronounce the K, right? It's like Kim, you don't pronounce the K, or Cam, so it's Ham in Hebrew, etc. Tradition holds that Ezra adopted the Aramaic square script the Aramaic square script alphabet in place of the Paleo Hebrew, which is supposed to be Palestinian Hebrew, right? Alphabet during the post-exilic restoration of Israel in the 5th century BC. The biblical Hebrew text available to us today is written in the Hebrew language with the adopted Imperial Aramaic alphabet. Okay, not too sure on this one, because today's today's modern language, Israelite language, or Israeli language, they can't call themselves Israel. Some sort of council years and years and years ago said, no, you can't, because you're not the true descendants of the house of Israel. So you can only use Israeli. Apparently, that's what we came across years and years and years ago. Okay, so they adopted the Aramaic square script alphabet in place of the Paleo Hebrew alphabet during the post-exilic restoration of Israel in the 5th century BC. The biblical Hebrew text available to us today is written in the Hebrew language with the adopted Imperial Aramaic alphabet. The Uvet Wo original oral language. As discussed, the Uvet Wo language is a Semitic language. The word Semitic comes from the name Semeh Shem. It actually means half. So they were a hybrid, right? In English it means half. Because they're a bunch of wandering nomads living in tents, raising goats, sheep, etc. and so forth. And they come across others, and then they became basically conscripted into that group, that tribe, by certain rites, etc., like circumcision, etc. And they become this one wandering people, right? They're a mixture of different people. So you might have darker skinned, light skinned, white, etc. The son of Noah, whose descendants lived in the Middle East. Wo is the original language of the Yasaravi. The oral language is not lost, just hidden from modern speakers.